Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. According to Blacks Gone Geek, an online community of African Americans in technology, the hottest job in information technology for 2014 is project manager, followed by application development and cloud administration. There's no question careers in technology are the way to go, but how well are African Americans doing? Are African American students flocking to STEM-related classes? Are IT professionals of color being hired? What do minorities who desire a career in technology need to do to be competitive? Up next on Another View, we're talking about diversity in technology, right after this news from NPR.
Discussing today's topics from an African American perspective, this is Another View.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. Hope you are outside enjoying this gorgeous, gorgeous Friday, and thank you so much for joining us today. STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. The disciplines that lead to most of the highest paying and rewarding careers in technology. Now, businesses roll out the welcome mat for those with STEM degrees, yet African Americans are among the most underrepresented minority groups in STEM careers. The question is why? And to give us some answers, we welcome to Another View Dr. Rasha M. Morsi, founding director of the Creative Gaming and Simulation Lab in the Department of Engineering at Norfolk State University. Dr. Morsi, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Glad that you're here today. Taylor Armstead, a graduate student and research assistant at NSU, seeking his master's degree in electrical and electronics engineering. That's a mouthful.
Yeah,
Welcome, Taylor.
Thank you.
So glad to have you. And joining us by phone is Jack Ezzell Jr., founder and CEO of Zel Technologies, LLC, or Zel Tech as it's known. Hi, Jack. How are you?
Hi, Barbara. How are you? It's great being here.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us. And I want to start by congratulating you again, Jack. Last night, he and three others were honored by Old Dominion University, receiving the Hugo Owens Martin Luther King Award for their service to the community and for the work that they do. And so congratulations, Jack, for receiving that award.
Thank you again.
So, Jack, I want to start with you. And I want to ask the initial question I raised. Why are there so few African Americans in the technology industry?
You know, that's an interesting question, and it's one that's being probed quite a bit by social scientists and others. Lots of people say it's because maybe it's not a cool thing, and ironically, individuals don't gravitate toward that. There are other economic factors that play in there. So it's really a pretty wide-ranging set of causes in there. But the bottom line is ultimately the numbers are just going down. And it's unfortunate, but they're quite low.
Well, considering that technology is running the world, I mean, you cannot survive in this world, Dr. Morsi, without technology. When you run a lab, you run classes at Norfolk State, what do your students tell you?
Well, I actually see it from two different perspectives. I have a 13-year-old son in middle school, and I see it as peer pressure. It's not cool to be good in math. It's not cool to be good in the sciences. At the college level, I feel also that some of the students are being tracked in the school system, so they're not even given the opportunity to be in the track, to be in a STEM field. So they don't even know that that's even an option for them. So when they come to us, they choose different fields at the college level, but when you speak to them, you realize, well, they do like math, they do like the sciences, they actually could be a very good candidate in our engineering program or in other science fields, but no one is actually encouraging them, like you're saying.
So, Taylor, how did you get there? What's your story?
My story isn't especially exciting. I wasn't particularly interested in math or technology or anything like that when in middle school or high school or anything like that. It wasn't until my senior year of high school that I got to a teacher that really cared about math, and she took a lot of time, like extra hours after class, to like really get me to understand how, you know, the math worked and, you know, difficult equations and things like that. And that's what actually got me interested in the field. And from that point onward, math kind of took precedent in my academic interests. So when I went on to college, I was looking mainly at fields that involved, calculus and upper level math. And I kind of fell into electrical engineering because it takes math and allows you to apply it in a physical sense, not so much like theoretical physics or anything like that.
So it actually makes it concrete for you.
Yes.
So were you teased? Were you considered a geek?
I've always been a bit of a geek, to be completely honest, and it's not because of math or anything like that. But I wasn't really teased because of my math, because of my preferences for math. But I do know that it wasn't one of the fields that people go to because it's cool, I guess you could say. It's not as cool as, say, like the journalism or communications or anything like that. It's not as cool as, a business degree. The business degrees were kind of like celebrities on campus because they wear their suits around all the time and everyone sees them. Engineers have late hours. It's not really glamorous. We're in a lab a lot, so it's not a lot of draw
Except that
way.
the jobs today, that's where you're making the money.
Yeah, true.
Jack, how did you start Zel Technologies? And tell us about the company.
Well, actually, I am a retired military officer, and I spent a great deal of time while I was on active duty applying technology to national security problems. I'm a biology undergraduate, and I have an MBA, so I really don't have an engineering degree, so to speak. But what I did is I used a lot of what I learned when I was on active duty in the military, and I made that the basis for the company that we have. And we do apply technology to solve very critical problems. So it's been kind of an exciting journey. Now I get a chance to spend a lot of time with real geeks. I'm not one. They haven't yet given me the secret handshake. But what I do is I have a computer dictionary, and I've learned a lot of the terminology, so I try to work my way through. But on a serious note, that's really how I started and what we're doing.
But you are an entrepreneur. You own a company, but the idea of entrepreneurs starting a lot of technological startups and so forth, that's not really happening in the minority community.
No, it's not. And I've looked at it before. A lot of the startups and the really the big ones, the Facebooks and all those kinds of things, are really get backing from venture capitalists. Only 1% of founders today receive VC capital that are black. We're just not getting the dollars out there to do that. That's changing a bit now. A number of African American entrepreneurs are now starting venture capital funds. They're involved in others, but ultimately the numbers and the dollars aren't just there to do that.
Dr. Morsi, why is it important to have a diversity in technological jobs?
I think we learn from each other because it's not just about what you're studying in the classroom. It's different perspectives on how you learn and how you deal with issues you might face going through the classes at the college level, and having a diverse environment. And actually, engineering is quite diverse. Sadly, though, not many African Americans are graduating with an engineering degree, specifically electrical engineering. But diversity is critical because you see different views, different perspectives. In my lab, we have a real diverse student population in my graduate students. We have from all corners of the earth. So we gain, and Taylor can speak more to that about all the new things he learned, because going through this kind of program, it needs to be eased up a bit by getting outside information or some cultural learning as well as the academic learning, and it makes a difference in the success rate, I believe, personally. But Taylor, I'm sure, can speak a bit more.
I'm going to talk to you because I want to know exactly what you all are doing in the lab. But I found this statistic in doing my research for today's show. So according to the National Center for Education Statistics, African Americans are 12% of the U.S. population, but receive just 7% of all STEM bachelor degrees, 4% of master's degrees, and 2% of PhDs. So the numbers, even though they may even start high relatively, they go down as the education level goes up. What are your thoughts behind that, Taylor?
So I've actually experienced that firsthand. When I got into the engineering program at my undergraduate university, there we had full classrooms, full of aspiring engineers, people who wanted to get into engineering fields, chemical, materials, what have you, electrical. As I got higher and higher up and classes became more and more difficult, we would lose students like flies. They would just be dropping out of classes. I've heard this actually from colleagues at other universities. They are also having similar issues with retention rates. It seems to be that people don't, a combination of things actually. People either don't realize I guess you could say the amount of math required to become an engineer, and they underestimate, let me say, the amount of time it takes to put into these classes compared to other fields. Not to say that other fields aren't, as intense in their own way. Exactly. But I feel engineering has a particular brand of dedication that it requires to be successful. And we had specific programs tailored to try and keep people in the program. We had after-school tutoring sessions. I was a tutor for a while. We had mentoring programs.
I was going to ask you about the mentorship programs.
Yeah, we had things like that, trying to get people to just stay in engineering fields. But a lot of them just, it basically came down to they got scared away by how difficult it was.
And Jack, would you also say that maybe dollars or income may be a factor? Because as you go higher in terms of getting your education level, it costs more. And you have the lure of corporations saying, hey, come work for me. I mean, you have people like you, Jack, who would say...
No, absolutely. I think you're really correct. I heard something else, though. I had a young female engineer tell me, who was at a majority institution, that she felt really kind of isolated in that environment. But when she joined some, quote, black groups or minority groups, Black Engineer of the Year, that sort of thing, she didn't feel as isolated. And that helped in the process, and that has helped grow the numbers of minorities in STEM, just associating with others who are there.
Because as they're going through school, did you find that to be true, Taylor?
I did, actually. It's a lot easier, and I mean, you can say it's about pretty much anything. When you're included in a group and you have a network of peers to support you, it pretty much just makes everything easier, makes everything more workable.
440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call to join our conversation. Are you involved with a STEM career? And we would love to hear your story. Love to hear how that's going for you. If you've been discouraged and against being in a math class or taking one of the STEM disciplines, let's talk about that also. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. So, Jack, do you think also, I'm curious about this cultural attitude, I guess that's the way I'll put it, towards STEM careers, coming from within the African American culture, that is it really pushed as an option?
I think we're seeing more of that. Historically, it has not now, but I think there's the realization. I think it is happening as we get more African American seniors in the faculty positions, as we get more business owners. I think that really makes a big difference. And I know I encourage a lot in schools, starting at kindergarten and other places, for kids to look at STEM as an option. So I think that's growing.
As a matter of fact, you even put together a club, if I'm not mistaken, for young people.
I did. One of the things I did early on, it was then kind of during the digital divide, is I had a free laboratory for kids, 5th grade up, and senior citizens, where I provided them free access to computers. We taught them the basics, and it was really very exciting. The kids loved it. It turned out in the end that it was really more attractive to the seniors. These are ladies at the time who wanted to email to their grandkids, that sort of thing. So I think it's incumbent upon us here who are in this space is to actively encourage and support that through outreach.
So Dr. Morsi, tell us about the Creative Gaming and Simulation Lab.
Well, this is basically my research lab, and we do a lot of modeling and simulation, and our application is education. So what we do is we try and develop interactive applications and games for education where there is some assessment involved, so the teacher or the parent is comfortable having their kids play the game and hopefully learn at the same time. Mm-hmm. And we were actually funded by WHRO to develop 3 apps for them, so that some of them are posted online for free, and they're SOL based, so that students in high school can actually play with these interactive 3D apps and learn while they're going through the environment and working with that. So our goal is to try and make education better for the digital native, which is the type of student we have right now. They were born in technology.
Exactly.
And we have to change our linear teaching way into another method of teaching involving technology, but the type of technology they use now, not just PowerPoints and the death by PowerPoint type lecturing. But we do need to do that. And it's a change, and it's a difficult change for a lot of faculty to appreciate and to try and endeavor in. But it's something that's critical. So we're hoping that at CGS that we can produce some tools that make that a little bit easier on teachers and parents.
Because as you see, I mean, do you have hope then that if for the future generations, I think about my granddaughter who's 4, and she can work an iPhone and an iPad. I mean, it's just very natural to her, where she tries to teach grandma how to do something. So because kids are born into that environment, do you think that they may want to pursue these careers more so than what's happening now?
I think if we try and make the career a little bit more cool, I think it's still not cool, as Taylor was saying, it's still not cool. It does involve a lot of math. But I always tell the students that come in, it really isn't that hard. People make it seem that hard, but anyone can do it if you put your mind to it. You can do anything if you put your mind to it. You just have to put some hard work into it, and you will succeed in this field. So again, being deterred by other people, I think that's a real negative.
440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Norman joins us from Newport News. Hi, Norman. You're on the air.
Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm a parent of 2 younger children who are still in school, one middle school, one high schooler. They're both doing well academically. However, I'd like to find some programs or mentorship type programs that would assist them in developing stronger math skills. Can you make any recommendations in the area?
Okay, let's see what our guests have to say. Jack, I'll start with you, since he's on the peninsula.
We do have some. Let me just use this as an opportunity to talk about a great initiative that's coming here to the peninsula. We are in the process now of implementing what we call the Virginia STEAM Academy, Science, Technology, Engineering, and Applied Mathematics. We hope to open this in next fall. It will be a resident school at Fort Monroe, and for students throughout the Commonwealth, 9th through 12th grade, and the focus is on STEM. Last summer, we had a summer camp at ODU, and we hope to have a camp again this year at 2 places. But that's really starting, at the 9th grade level. But there are other programs here in the schools I'm seeing now in the public schools where they're beginning to focus on that. I suggest if you're in Newport News, just call Newport News School System. I think they have a program, and I know Hampton has one.
Okay. Sherry joins us from Portsmouth. Hi, Sherry. You're on the air.
Hi, Barbara.
Hi.
Thank you so much for taking the call. I wanted to share what I'm doing in terms of using the theater arts as a way of getting students interested in other disciplines. I have a play called Ben and Jefferson, which is Benjamin Banneker, acknowledged as the first African-American scientist in America, and Thomas Jefferson, who, of course, authored the Declaration of Independence, and the third president of the United States, they were pen pals. And what happened is that Jefferson had said something disparaging about black intelligence, and Benjamin Banneker wrote him a letter outlining some of his work, as well as asking him, if he would share his work with others. So Thomas Jefferson did exactly that, because when he got the almanacs and the work that Banneker had been responsible for, he was very impressed. And so that started this exchange of letters back and forth. And the play basically talks, kind of has excerpts from the letters as well as some of their inventions. Benjamin Banneker built the first wooden clock in America, and Thomas Jefferson, of course, was very much an inventor and a tinker and a thinker, and that's what the play is all about.
And Sherry, where can people see your play?
Well, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be announcing our schedule for the 2014 season next Wednesday, April 9th, at Brody's Restaurant in downtown Portsmouth. So we hope that we'll be able to share that with people. And I want to thank you, Barbara, for doing the International Festival at ODU last weekend. That was a really great event.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much. Let me just ask you one last question, Sherry. Do you take this play then into the schools? Is that...
We have in the past, and look forward to doing that again starting this season.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. We'll keep an eye out on that, and we will post any information on anotherviewradio.org, our website, 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Sadie joins us from Norfolk. Hi, Sadie.
Yes, hi. My question for the panelists is, are they doing anything to kind of recapture the missed generations? I think of myself some 20 or so years ago. I went to college, and I wanted to major in astrophysics, and I got in the coursework and found out I didn't have the math skills. And because you kind of needed to hit the ground running, I basically changed majors because I didn't have anywhere to pick up those math skills, even though I had the interest.
Okay, thank you so much for that call. Dr. Morsi, you want to respond?
Well, I can speak for what we are doing at Norfolk State, and we do try and capture the students in their freshman year. And if they are struggling with math or part of the sciences, we have what we call the STARS tutoring program. It's an NSF, National Science Foundation funded project, and our students go and try and get that extra help there, whether it's in the math or the sciences or even in senior engineering years. We do actually go into some schools at the high school level and the middle school level and work with students in those schools and help them and do maybe engineering clubs and things of that sort to help them out. We have events at Norfolk State that we ask students, students can come in with their parents, and we we basically teach the students how to program, and we teach the parents how to program and the teachers. So and it's all in one day's event. So both can learn kind of similar things, and so both will be able to work with each other when they get home type thing. So.
Let me ask you, Taylor, about do you do peer-to-peer mentoring, I guess is the best way to put it. Do you all kind of gather and try to bolster each other and keep each other going?
So in mentoring, the mentoring program I was in was designed at kind of mentoring freshmen to keep them in the program. So we would be there for if they needed help with, classes, if they needed help with homework, if they needed, help to find resources, looking at things for research. That was that mentoring program. And it was effective. Peer-to-peer isn't so much mentoring as it is just kind of all of us holding each other up in a support group, because a lonely engineer is an engineer having a difficult time. So lots of study sessions, all of us kind of bouncing ideas off each other, late nights in the library, that kind of thing.
Got a question from Facebook. Person wants to know if you've always liked math and technology, or did someone steer you in that direction?
So I haven't always liked math and technology, no. I was neither here nor there on it when I was, younger in middle and high school. It wasn't until my senior year of high school that one of my teachers put a lot of time into teaching me the fundamentals of math and, the intricacies of mathematics, that I really started to enjoy it and see see the potential it offered. And it was at that point that my future academic path was paved, I guess you could say.
But you shared with us that your parents were actually both journalists.
Yes, as
and
a matter
so
of fact, they were.
did not discourage you or encourage you to continue along that line?
No, they kind of gave me free rein. As a matter of fact, my mother was extremely impressed because she couldn't help me with my math homework after,
That would be me.
So my family was completely encouraging and supportive, and they were like, yeah, go ahead, more power to you, as long as I don't have to do it, pretty much.
If you're just joining us, we're talking about African Americans and STEM careers with Jack Ezzell Jr., founder and CEO of Zel Technologies, LLC, Dr. Rasha M. Morsi, founding director of the Creative Gaming and Simulation Lab in the Department of Engineering at Norfolk State University, and Taylor Armstead, graduate student working on his master's degree in electrical and electronics engineering at NSU. Our phone number to call is 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. If you're out there and you have an idea for a technology business and you're wondering what are the steps you need to take, give us a call and let's talk about that. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Darva is joining us from Norfolk. Hi, Darva.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good.
Good.
So I'm listening to your program, and I had to call in because as a parent of children, my own fears of math, I was not a strong math person. So I took advantage of the Norfolk public school systems. Back in the day, my children are almost 30. They had, and they may still have it. It was called the Cooperating Hampton Roads Opportunities for Minorities in Engineering. So they had this program in the grade school level. So I signed up my sons to take this course. And so I think it's important as raising children to take advantage of what programs are out there just to expose the children to these types of programs. And so lo and behold, the long story short, that, I took advantage of all the programs in the school. My son ended up going directly into the Army right after graduation, but decided that maybe he would apply to West Point, which is an engineering-type school. Lo and behold, he got picked up.
Great.
And is now a graduate, in the career field. But it was funny when he went to West Point. He says, yeah, I learned something new today. I said, oh, what was that? He goes, in West Point, you're either an engineering major or an engineering minor. I said, well, how is that going to work for you? Because people don't just stumble into engineering. He goes, well, I'm good with that. I said, well, that's good because you're kind of there now. So I guess the long story short is our job as parents is just expose them to the programs. And you cross your fingers hoping something will take off, and it worked out for us. But not having our own fears of those type of curriculum, not hold our children back in exploring that. And that's all I really wanted to say, that there are programs out there.
Thank you, Darva, so much for that call. And she's talking about, Dr. Morsi, the Chrome program.
Yes. And the Chrome program is still functional and exists. And actually other events we do, universities throughout the Hampton Roads area, including Norfolk State, we conduct workshops for middle school and high school students on robotics, on gaming. I do gaming one, just to try and make it more fun for them. So we choose the topics that would make it more fun, so that we kind of lure them in, I guess, just to give them that, well, it can still be cool. So these programs do exist, and we do have them, and I do know, because I can speak more about Norfolk State, we have them at Norfolk State every summer, where we have the Health and Science Academy, where students can come in from middle school and high school and have 4 weeks where they experience all the different STEM fields, the physics, the math, the nursing, allied health, the gaming, the engineering, everything throughout that 4 weeks.
So because there's a huge spectrum, as we talk about technology careers, that it really is a very wide spectrum. Let's talk to Nora in Virginia Beach. Hi, Nora, you're in the air.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. Well, I just want to mention, I'm Hispanic, so I'm first generation. I was studying engineering back in my country, Peru. I noticed my mom, as a single mother, always pushed me to go to these little programs back in my country. So my teachers on these little programs, which I went for 5 years, like they helped me to love mathematics. And they show me that numbers basically are like a piece of plastic that you can change and adapt. It's like playing, and it's like a transformation. So now that I'm studying nursing right now, I look back and I see mathematics as a hobby. And I realize all of this is because, you know, how I grow and how my mother pushed me to go through these programs, which I didn't find enjoyable at the beginning, but now it's like a lifestyle I have. So every time somebody comes and asks me for mathematics, even I'm not studying that, they look at me in a way that is something strange. Well, my point is just, it's not, you cannot learn to love something if you don't have somebody that takes the time to show you the path and make you love that. So I don't think somebody can love mathematics when we're hating for high school. You're not going to love it tomorrow. You know, it's just it's a process and the environment you live. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Nora, so much for that. Taylor, you reacted visually to her.
Yeah, she was pretty much telling me my own story. If you don't have someone that supports you, it's a lot more difficult to get there. You need to have someone to help you there. And fortunately for me, I had my teacher and my family and everybody, you know, supporting me, and my teacher taking hours after class every day to really make sure I understood it. But she's right. If it really helps if you have someone to show you the path you gotta walk.
And Dr. Morsi, I found it really, really interesting. Now, she's from Peru, she said, and you're from Egypt.
Yeah,
right?
I was born in Egypt and raised in London, UK.
But two women, who are being pushed in a field that was traditionally a male field. And
actually, that's a big, coming from an international background, I see a big difference in the influence the parents and the society play on the children. For us growing up, whether, you know, in Egypt as a kid, you either became a doctor or an engineer. Those are the top two fields, and everyone strived to get into one of those fields. When I went into the UK, there were not many females in the engineering field, but I knew I had to be an engineer because that was one of the things, that was the expectations. I did love math. I think in Egypt we did algebra in 6th grade.
Wow.
Which was, it's quite impressive. So for me, yes, I say geek is chic because I loved...
How do you like that one, Jack?
I loved just, you know, in my spare time, I like to do math problems, algebra problems. So I think, the influence of parents, I think, is critical. Even if the parent isn't a math geek, it doesn't like math or isn't interested in it, I think just encouraging the children that, you know, and taking away the stigma behind it will make a big difference. And then, of course, teachers are a big influence too. You have to have the kind of teacher that is supportive, be it at the, you know, grade school level or the college level. They have to be understanding to the students', you know, background and experiences, and be encouraging, not discouraging, because unfortunately we do have a lot of teachers that will just look at a student and say, well, you know, this is just not for you, because they don't want to put the time into working with the student, which I think is a big shame.
440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Have you ever considered a career in the STEM disciplines? 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. So, Jack, when you are looking to hire someone for your company, what are some of the characteristics or the experiences that you expect to be able to work at Zel Tech?
Well, you know, one of the things I look for, candidly, is communication skills. In addition to the core technical skills, I want someone who can write and someone who can speak articulately. And that's a big part of what I'm doing. Of course, you know, I have individual specialties. We have electrical engineers, we have physicists, we have IT types. But along with that, I want well-rounded professionals with communication and social skills. So that's a big part of what I'm looking for.
I find that so interesting because I think people tend to think you're either in the sciences or you're in the arts, and there's no blending of the two. But that's really necessary.
Yeah. Barbara, briefly, just to follow up on something that came earlier, and Dr. Morsi mentioned it, I encourage our listeners to check out robotics here in Hampton Roads. There's a lot of activity going on that's very, very attractive to youngsters. Just go online and Google robotics. There are clubs. The kids would get excited. Some of the parents can mentor and provide support. So it's a great area of exposure for our kids.
We have a Facebook question that says, aren't most schools promoting STEM these days? And shouldn't there be a higher interest as a result of this promotion? Because you have to admit, every time you talk about careers these days, you're talking about the STEM disciplines. So, Jack, let me start with you. Where's the disconnect? Why aren't we getting more interest, even though there's been this big push?
I think we are getting more interest. It's growing. I don't know that it's publicized as much as it is, but my sense is we're moving in the right direction. Most schools now are looking at enhancing their STEM offerings, and it's starting at a younger age. So I believe that we're moving in the right direction. We clearly are not where we need to be overall, but I think we're moving in the right direction.
Okay. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Terrence joins us from Newport News. Hi, Terrence. You're in the air. Terrence, are you there? Terrence? Hello? Well, I guess he got lost. I'm so sorry. Are you there, Terrence? Okay, well, then we will move on to, let's see if Shirley, she's on the highway. Hi, Shirley, you're on the air.
Highway, and of course, my favorite program is on, and I'm listening, and it's quite interesting.
Thank you.
I was a principal of a school for robotics in New York, and communication skills was one of the issues that we had a problem with. So I was happy to hear the person talk about communication skills and how students are even professionals. So I would just like to know more about how to get a conversation with the gentleman to talk more about how maybe I'd be able to support that, his efforts or the efforts in this program.
Okay, Jack, she's talking to you.
I'd love to sit down and talk with you. Barbara, if it's okay, I can give you my contact information now, or we can do it later.
You can give it to her.
Okay, just email me at Ezzell, Ezzell, at Zel Tech, ZELTECH.com. And we'll take it from there.
And Shirley, if you, I know you're driving, so if you want to call our offices, we can also pass on the information to you.
Okay, so this number that I called is your office number?
No, this is the number to our phone lines here in the studio. So if you call 889-9400 and just ask for me, we'll pass the information on to you.
Okay, so 889-9400.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for your call. We appreciate it. Okay, Mike joins us from Virginia Beach. Hi, Mike. You're on the air.
Afternoon. A wonderful show as always.
Thank you.
Just wanted to say that my grandson participated in the STEM camp last summer and has an opportunity to participate this year. But as far as the whole program goes with the math and the STEM, we have to start early. We have to support them and encourage them and make them aware that it's nothing foreign. It's like another language, if you would. I took an algebra class last year working towards completing my degree, and I allowed that algebra class to defer me for years because I just didn't feel comfortable that I could do that. So again, and it starts early. If you introduce a child early, they can develop better and feel more secure and take on any challenge that's before them.
Okay, thanks so much for calling, Mike. We appreciate your sentiments. Anybody want to react to that, Taylor?
As a matter of fact, my nephew he's, I think, second grade, and he's got a big interest in the STEM fields already. He wants to be an astronaut. He's fascinated with, spaceships and all that stuff, and so I keep telling him, if you want to be an astronaut, you got to be good at, math and stuff like that. And he's like, oh, yeah, let's do that. So, I used to help him with his homework, and, he'd really love doing math. So again, it's pretty important to kind of impress this idea of that math isn't like a horrible thing. That's something that they shouldn't shrink away from. It's something that they should embrace, It's something that if they have interest in it, that it should be, respected and, kind of nurtured. So that as they grow up, that they, kind of find themselves looking more and more towards the STEM fields.
Okay. Jack, we're talking a lot about the kids and people trying to get into the career, but what happens once you're already an engineer or you're already in a STEM discipline? What do you need to do to continue to be viable?
Retain your proficiency, especially in the area of software, where it's constantly changing with new languages. You need to read, you need to get additional courses. You can't stay static in this business. Joining professional associations helps. Going to graduate school, monitoring courses, all of those kinds of things help. But you're absolutely correct. It's a doom. You're doomed if you don't do that.
Dr. Morsi?
Really, we're talking about lifelong learning, and that's something critical. You have to continue basically updating yourself. When I graduated from ODU with my PhD in electrical engineering, I was in wireless communication. That was my field. I reinvented myself in 2006 and started getting into the modeling simulation gaming area because I realized that that's something that's going to make me more prominent in the area. It'll help me get my promotions and my tenure. So it's a continuous learning process. If you stay without reading and knowing what the new technologies are and where you are, you're just going to be another name. And you don't want to be another name, because when someone needs to fire someone, another name is going. So you need to always stay out there and keep yourself visible.
And Taylor, have you been you've been in the work world also, correct?
I have.
Okay, so what are you doing in terms of? Did you go back to work on your master's because you realized you need to continue your skills, or is this just working was just kind of a stop in your education career?
So the work I've done has primarily been internships.
Okay.
I've done them in various places around the country, but I viewed them as a couple of things: experience builders and stepping stones. And I don't mean that in a sort of a disrespectful manner, in that they were only there to push myself up. They were just there to help me, learn more and better myself. So I was interning, and this opportunity came along. And from a lot of people, I heard that going to graduate school is something that should be done sooner rather than later, because once you are in the workforce, it's a lot harder to pull away from that to go back and get your education. And also, there are far more opportunities available down the road if you have a graduate degree versus just having a undergraduate degree. And I heard, I don't remember who told me this, but the undergraduate engineering degree is rapidly becoming what's essentially the high school degree. Having a bachelor's degree in the science field is not as impressive as once it was. Now, if you really want to stand out or be competitive, you're going to want to take a serious look at getting a graduate degree.
Okay. And I wanted to ask you, Dr. Morsi, because do you need, is the master's enough, or must you get your PhD?
So actually, just to give some statistics that we have from the National Science Foundation, if we speak generally about engineering degrees, a student median salary will be, when you graduate, $58,000, let's say. With a master's, it's $72,000. So that's a good jump in the salary range. But if we speak specifically about African Americans in electrical engineering, the median salary is about $58,000 for a bachelor's, but for masters, they're earning around $83,000. So yes, getting a master's makes a big difference. And then getting a PhD really is for the people who want to be very specialized. Either you want to be in academia and go the academic route and get into a tenure track position, get tenure and everything, or you want to be in a research and development job. But really what I've seen is getting a master's gets you basically the most bang for your buck, basically speaking. And actually, I just wanted to plug something, because we have amazing scholarship opportunities for students to come in and do masters in our electronics engineering program, and we pay the stipend, we pay tuition. You just have to be a 3.0 or above, coming from an electrical or or a computer engineering degree, and you can actually earn your master's fully paid for you, which is a great opportunity. We also, in our bachelor's, for high school students that are coming out and trying to get into a bachelor's in the engineering field, we actually also provide tuition scholarships. So there are opportunities out there, for people to know about. Just use them.
And Jack, I wanted to bring you in on from the education standpoint, because while there are lots of schools that have engineering programs, there are a lot of HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities, such as Norfolk State, such as your alma mater, North Carolina A&T State University, that specialize in these engineering fields.
Absolutely. And let me make a plug here. Dr. Morsi is being quite modest. She has a world-class reputation as one of the leaders in her field. I had the pleasure of serving as the rector of the board at Norfolk State, and also I chaired their Empowerment Foundation. So I get a chance to see firsthand what she's doing. It's extraordinary. I will match it with any other institution in the United States. So that's an HBCU that has a great program. And at A&T, our engineering program is well-renowned, too. So, yeah, it is.
And, Jack, when you're hiring an employee at this point, are you looking for that master's degree, or can they get started with their bachelor's?
I am to some extent, but in many cases in the workplace, professional certification plays pretty heavily too. You can, you have the academic degree, but you need to get certified on certain kind of hardware and systems and experience. So that plays pretty heavily in my hiring decision.
Okay.
And by the way,
Go ahead.
The salaries are astronomical out here in the IT professional field and industry. It's just great if you can break in.
If you can break in. Okay, we've got about a minute left, so I'm going to have to let you guys go. But Jack Ezzell, founder and CEO of Zel Technologies Incorporated. Jack, thank you so much for joining us today.
And thank you.
We appreciate it. Dr. Rasha M, Morsi, founding director of the Creative Gaming and Simulation Lab in the Department of Engineering at Norfolk State University. Do you have a phone number real quick if they want to call about scholarships?
Oh, of course. It's 823-0047.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate that. And Taylor Armstead, graduate student working on his master's degree in electrical and electronics engineering at NSU. Taylor, we wish you the best.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will be right back.
Hi, I'm Daphne Maxwell Reed, and if you'd like to have another insightful conversation about the African American community, join us on Another View, WHRV 89.5.
Thank you so much, Daphne. We always appreciate hearing from our celebs who have come through and graced us with their presence. April is National Poetry Month. So what better way to kick off our Positive Story segment than to tell you about an award-winning poet who's not only made a name for himself here in Hampton Roads, but across the globe. Our Lisa Godley recently sat down with poet, author, and educator Seneca Lofton to discuss his style of poetry and how it's evolved.
Hey, I ain't like you, so I can do it like you. No, we are not the same, man. Not at all, man. I ain't like you, so I can do it like you.
Seneca Lofton does an amazing job of combining the poetry he loves with different genres of music. He calls it riot speech, and his poetry has taken him from college campuses to documentary films.
I exist to perform urban jazz, suburban revolution. This, I swear, is for the centuries without voice.
Okay, so what's the difference between that and rap? I get that one all the time. And it's mainly rhyme scheme and craftsmanship. There's a different rhyme scheme that goes along with rap, and you hear it. And rappers are more focused on actually keeping time with the music. And poetry and riot speech, you don't have to keep that timing.
This, I swear, is for the centuries without voice, without light, for the years of working for racial slurs and institutionalized warfare. I ain't like you, so I can do it like you. We are not the same.
Around the 5th grade is where I took a love for just the written the written language. Around junior, senior years when I really started, trying to map out, the next 4 or 5 years. I was like, okay, I'm going to try the writing, career to see if I can make a really, good living at it. And so then I started looking at colleges, for writing.
Once he got to college, Seneca says he was surrounded by great musicians.
Hip-hop's furious tribe. He celebrates my contribution to a death culture when I exhale the bloody language of insurrection.
So I really got into the studio. I got into the love of recording poetry, and then there were so many musicians around, piano players, drummers, bassists, saxophonists, trombonists. Everybody was around. We started jamming together. Once I got into the studio aspect of it, it just all clicked for me.
I hear him talking, but it don't mean much. I hear him talking, man. Too focused, too fast, and too clutch.
He says it began with a friend playing piano, and over time evolved into jam sessions with Grammy-nominated artists, with his style of spoken word at the center of it all.
Raised in the belly of political madness and in an environment where ideals can burn and destroy, I deploy native-born intelligence into the public discourse, into the public squares where they once placed neckties around my foreparents.
Were really short haiku-esque type poems, experimental type of poems, not the longer spoken word pieces you hear now.
I don't want to leave you alone, but this lifestyle of mine seems to keep me on the road.
Leave a Light On for me is basically about traveling, being on the road a lot, and how I deal with that, being away from my wife.
When he's not writing about his wife and daughter, he's writing about life. Seneca's most recent work is titled American Outlaw, which he recorded with friend singer-songwriter Sam Barrett.
It's just a guitar riff, and my friend Sam singing and me coming in with the poetries.
I'm perched between a ledge and a cliff. Only source of freedom is the wings on my back.
So I'm saying that I'm a representation of the culture, and that culture is vast, it's diverse, sometimes it's painful, and so that's what American Outlaw symbolized to me.
Outlaw culture is tattooed on my skin, a fierce reminder of my familiar wasteland.
I think the main thing that I want people to get from my poetry is that, protest poetry is alive and well. It's okay to be who you are. It's okay to be an individual. It's okay, to advocate for freedom of expression no matter what medium it is.
For Another View, I'm Lisa Godley.
American Outlaw.
And Seneca's poetry was featured in the 2008 documentary Supersize Me 2. If you'd like to know more about Seneca, just log on to our website at anotherviewradio.org, and there you'll find a link to his website. He calls his poetry riot speech. Very, very interesting. And that's our show for today. If you'd like to hear it again or share it with a friend, please visit anotherviewradio.org and download the podcast. You can also sign up for our eView newsletter, which is a once-a-week reminder of upcoming programs. Next week, it's a time for the Another View Roundtable. Tune in to see what pearls of wisdom Roger, Carol, Will, and Bill will have to share. It's going to be a wild time, as always. Our theme music was composed and performed by Jay Sennett. Lisa Godley is our show producer. Victor Bowen is our audio engineer, and Denise Norris answered our phones today. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone, and let's get together again next Friday at noon for Another View.